Okay. So we'll start at the beginning, even though we kind of talked about it sort of as a class the last time. All right, so this first sentence, from ubi Cornelia all the way to manserunt. David, why don't we start with you?
Okay. When Cornelia and her mother went to bed, Marcus and Sextus stayed with Cornelius.
Good. Okay. So just for the recording, I guess I'll repeat it. When Cornelia and her mother went to bed, Marcus and Sextus stayed with Cornelius. Okay, next chunk, from cum Cornelio to, and it's a little bit longer, unfortunately, valuerunt. All right, I'll actually take a volunteer for this one since it's kind of long. All right, so young.
They had in mind to dine with Cornelius and after dinner to stay awake until midnight.
Nam, for they what?
Or to see everything and hear everything.
Wait, for, careful. What are we doing with valuerunt?
Because, for day 1, 2, see
Yeah.
everything and hear everything.
Yep, because they want to. Okay. All right, so just to repeat what she said. Okay, they had in mind to dine with Cornelius and after dinner to stay awake to the middle of the night, for they wanted to see everything and to hear everything. Okay, so that's good. Any questions? No? Okay. What kind of infinitives are videre and audire? Caitlin?
Complimentary.
Good, they're complementary infinitives. Functioning off of what? What's the word that requires you to use a complementary infinitive, Caitlin? Yeah, valuerunt, exactly. Okay, next sentence, from Marcus to Sexte, question mark. Maybe we'll just go in a circle-ish. Evan.
Marcus says, I'm hungry. Very hungry too, Sextus.
Yep, exactly. Okay, Marcus says, I'm hungry, Dad. Are you also hungry, Sextus? Okay, any questions on that? No? Okay, grammatical question here. Sexte, what case is that? It's vocative, good. Nice. All right, and the vocative is used for what function? Exactly right, nice. Okay, second grammar question. Why does this have an NE?
Because it's a question.
Good, because it's a question. Okay.
I was confused by that until I remembered that it was a question.
Ah, yeah, sometimes it's easy to forget the enclitics. All right, final question. Somebody parse esurio for me. What I'm asking for, give me the gender, I'm sorry, whoa, that's verbs. Give me the person, number, and tense of esurio. Annabelle?
First person singular present.
Good.
What is the last name?
First person singular present.
Yes.
Yeah, person, number, tense. Yeah, so when I ask you to parse a verb, I'll ask for person, number, tense. When I'm looking for a noun, gender, number, case. Okay, good. All right, Jason, you are up. Itawero responded Sextus.
Yes, indeed, responded Sextus.
Yep, yes, indeed, responded Sextus. Okay, so that is A-okay. All right, semper to Cornelius. Annabelle, back to you. This one.
You and Marcus are always hungry, exclaimed Cornelius.
Good, good. Okay, you and Marcus are always hungry, exclaimed Cornelius. Could I also say, you are always hungry, you and Marcus? Could I say that? Is that like okay in English? Okay, good. Yeah, I just want to make sure you.
That's just like in the order.
Is it
You're always hungry, you and Marcus.
That sounds like not like the case, but like that sounds like accusatory.
Like accusatory?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does
But
sound
not
kind
accusative.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where the word comes from. Accusatory and accusative. I believe they're related to the same word.
I didn't want to like say it was like the case.
That's fair. No, I understand what you mean.
Wait, so, you know, when we learn about Latin grammars, where are they originally from? Like, did the English scholars like retranslate like what was previously written?
So here's the deal. When you think about linguistics as like a field of study on its own, linguists will use these terms. So the Romans didn't necessarily like sit down and be like, okay, what's the subjunctive? Let's like give me the da, 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 da. Like all of these grammatical terms that we throw out. I don't know if they necessarily used them in that sense, but it's become this like these overarching terms that are used by not just English scholars, but other languages as well to discuss
I see.
language structure as a whole.
So it's more analytical than what was actually used back then.
Yeah, and that's why Latin is such an interesting language, because of the fact that like Latin was used, the empire grew, but then they grew too big, so the empire collapses. Latin, it doesn't like die completely, like people say it's a dead language. It was still kind of used, I suppose, in the churches and like in various pockets of the world, but it was only rediscovered. So it's like one of those things where like, let's say you write a letter in like 2-year-old, well, no, people don't write when they're 2, in like 5-year-old handwriting, right? And then like 50 years later, you find that letter again and you have to kind of like decode what you meant or like what you wrote. It's kind of like that. So they had to go back and figure out, and that's how languages work too. Like if you discover a language, you have to go back and figure out like what each piece is. What's helpful is if you have some passage and then like if in the language you've discovered, and then you have that same passage in a language that you know. So you can compare and figure out like what words mean what and like grammatically how it works in comparison to the language that you know.
I see.
Yeah, so it's a little weird. The Rosetta Stone, for example, like not the program. There were 3 paragraphs supposedly on this stone, each in a different language, and that by having that, I think we were able to unlock hieroglyphics because of that. Maybe not hieroglyphics, I can't remember, but there were 3 languages. We unlocked one because we had 2. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, it's linguistics is kind of interesting. You can figure out a lot about the social structure of peoples based on the way languages develop and like how they're used too.
I feel like language changes a lot depending on the background, and I feel like it's somewhat sad and good at the same time, because you know we lose the language that we used to use, but it's better because you know it's better for the people to use nowadays.
Yeah, that's true. And this actually came up in another class, but we were talking about literacy, like being able to read. Back then, not everybody was able to read, not everybody was able to write. But nowadays, I think the student throughout, 93% of America is able to read and write, or something like that. That's high, right? But if everybody's reading and everybody's writing, that means then that language is going to change at an exponentially larger rate than if just the select few are reading and writing and everybody's just speaking it. Right? Does that make sense? Like vocabulary changes, like grammatical structures sometimes change based on usage. And if more people are reading and writing, then that's going to change faster. Isn't that cool?
I don't know if it necessarily changes faster because they all follow some sort of uniformity, right? So
To some degree, but the word of the year, I think for like Merriam-Webster or something, was goblin mode.
What?
Yeah.
Is it like a slang or something?
And that's part of it. Like when slang becomes accepted as part of the official vernacular, like I think like LOL. Like if you said that to me 50 years ago, I'd have no idea what you meant.
You're right.
But everybody knows what this means. stuff like that, you know? So these kinds of things change, and they change pretty quickly. Like in my lifetime, LOL has come, was rejected at first, but then was accepted.
What do you mean was rejected?
Well, like you have these linguistic Puritans, I guess you can call them, or like the people that want language to stay as proper as it once was. And while there is strength in that, you also have to realize that not everybody's going to have access to that high language, like academic language, right? So then enters into the arena words like LOL or
You know, LOL is one of the biggest, is like the most commonly used lie.
that's true, because when you type LOL, usually your face is just this.
LOL is like a thing you say when it's awkward.
Well, that's interesting too. Like what I've noticed, like even with just texts, in my opinion, I think LOL is a punctuation that we don't have, and it should be used as punctuation, right? Because if you say a sentence like,
Bozo.
"Wow, blessed," that's not what I want.
I feel my chest, LOL.
Like
No, that's actually something.
Like if I say, "You smell funny," and I end that with a period, that feels more aggressive, right? But the punctuation, like periods are not supposed to be aggressive, but because of the way that people have continually used language, if I say, "You smell funny," LOL, you know that it's like more light, right? Well, this is a dumb example, but this is all I got in my head right now. Right, so by putting this LOL in, you know, it's like a tone indicator almost. It's like, I'm not being like short and
Mean, you're just
very-
being mean.
well, I'm not being like you know how, like when people like when you write an email, sometimes like you put a lot of periods and it's like, this sounds really aggressive. Let's put a couple exclamations, but not too many, because I don't want to sound like I'm really excited about something I'm not, and stuff like that, right? So people in text messages use LOL as like a tone marker.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point, and I think it's true. Like, you know, people use more technology than paper these days, and like it changes because we use more technology and words like that.
Yep.
So interesting.
Yeah, like the shorthand of it all. And that has to do, so like linguistic development and technology also go hand in hand. Like you can't divorce the two. Like, for example, the invention of the printing press in the 1800s, right? Once we were able to mass produce books and mass produce paper and literature, that's when the use of language started to really take off, because then it was affordable and everybody could afford it. Well, not everybody, but more people could afford books than just the aristocracy. So language wasn't just a tool for the aristocracy, it becomes more widespread. And same thing with technology and texting, right? Back in my day, like, we didn't have these phones ever. Like we didn't have, back in my day, we used a landline. We called our friends' houses, and your friend's like cute older brother would probably answer the phone. It would be super embarrassing. It's like, "Can I talk to Rebecca, please?" And then they'd probably listen on the other landline, hear your conversation, right? But technology's changed so much, right? And now everybody has a phone. So the way that you text is going to change the way that you think about language. And the way that you think about language is going to show up in how you read and how you write and how you communicate in all ways. Boom, food for thought. Sorry, this is a Thursday. Yes.
So apparently in like Egyptian times, like literacy was pretty high because they could mass produce like paper. Well, not mass produce, but they had more paper. And then in the Dark Ages, there weren't a lot of literacy because there was
Paper.
a lot of paper.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good point too. Like economics does play into it. Like if you think about the climate, papyrus was very widespread in Egypt, so therefore they could mass produce. But because I guess they didn't figure out how to do paper, a lot of those ancient manuscripts that you see, like the monasteries and stuff,
They use like this like skin.
vellum, that's the technical term. Vellum is the technical term. And that's like animal skin, like stretched thin to
It's
be.
really thin.
And typically what you would see, like illustrated manuscripts,
Illuminated manuscripts.
I think that's how you spell it, because it's not tempora. Tempera on vellum, that's like a phrase that should stick in your mind. Like they would use egg yolk and mix it with pigments to make paint to write on this vellum to get the words and the pictures.
Isn't that what like painters use in their time? Like they bake
They
egg
would
yolk.
crush stuff up and then make people.
We'll crush stuff up, but you had to mix it with egg.
Yeah.
At least in the Middle Ages,
But
that's what
then-
they did.
But then, I think, I forgot the guy's name. I forgot the guy's name. Because he had a lot of layers, so he did it like with oil instead of egg yolk.
Yeah, and
I forgot the guy's name.
well, technology also changes too. So like the moment somebody realizes like, oh, maybe egg yolk is not the greatest thing. Let's try it with something else, and then that catches wind, and you know, things develop also.
It's like popcorn.
Yeah, it's like popcorn. The guy who first discovered popcorn must have been totally scared. It's like, what's going on?
Actually, it's so insightful.
What, popcorn?
No, I mean, somewhat.
Yeah, or like language development. Yeah. I mean, it's something I think about a lot. So I don't know. I hope you got something from that short digression. Yeah.
You smell funny. Lol. Does make your
Ooh,
edge less
ooh.
aggressive.
Wait, okay, I've got a great story for you, and then we'll get back to the Latin. You guys are gonna love this one. All right, so my grandmother, she can text. My grandma texts me sometimes. She's also learned how to use emojis, which is pretty cool. She's like pretty with it for an old lady. I'm proud of her.
I can't even learn how to open the app store.
So here we go. My grandmother uses Facebook, and she always would like end her texts to me with LOL because she thought it meant lots of love, and she would usually put like hearts and stuff.
I think I know where this is going.
So somebody died, like a family friend or something.
Oh, wait,
So and like it was announced on Facebook, and my grandmother commented to the post and said, "I'm sorry for your loss. LOL. Heart emoji. Heart emoji."
I've seen so many of these like things on Reddit. Like you just browse Reddit and then you just see one where like mom. So and then there was a story where this guy was like, so this dad texts his son, it's like, your mom, I'm getting divorced, lol. And his son's like, LOL doesn't mean lots of love, and dad's like, of course I know that.
Oh. Yeah, so I thought we told her, and I talked her through how to take the post down, but it was very funny.
What did she say?
No, I think people, it was just like a bunch of other old ladies who were just like, oh, ah, ha, ha, ha. Like, not like that, but I don't know. It was just super weird.
Old witches.
Super weird. Okay.
What? I was accused of being a witch when I was younger.
Do you have it on secret?
All right,
No,
Licetne nobis. Who was the last to translate?
Isabel.
Isabel Annabelle? Okay. All right, Licetne nobis inquit Marcus hicenare J-ye. That's you.
Oh, Jay. I didn't translate. Okay, which one is it? It's this one. No. Hold on. We're trying to find the English part.
It's like,
Oh, it's here, right here. Are we allowed to eat this dinner? Asked Marcus.
Are we allowed? Okay, I am going to.
I think it is allowed
Is
for
it
us.
allowed?
I think it is allowed for us. I think absolutely.
This, so the more technical translation, Licetne nobis, is it allowed?
You know on the Quizlet it says it is allowed?
No, on my quiz it said it is allowed for us.
Well, so on the Quizlet, it is allowed, but because this is a question, I have to say, is it allowed?
Oh.
Right, so if it were a statement and that ne was not there, like licet nobis, it is permitted for us. But because it's a question, is it permitted for us?
I mean, it'd be kind of weird if the question was it is allowed for us.
Yeah, you can't start a sentence. Like, so is it allowed for us to dine here? Said Marcus. Okay, what kind of infinitive is cenare? Caitlin,
Complimentary.
is it though?
No.
It's an infinitive, there's another use of the infinitive.
Wait, what?
Wait, I need
Liket.
to go look at my notes.
Check your notes. You're allowed to check your notes.
In persona?
Yeah, it's an infinitive with an impersonal.
Aw.
Liket is
I
an
just opened
impersonal.
that page.
Right? Remember, impersonals. It is
Allowed.
allowed or it is necessary. Like those are impersonals because there's no like actual subject, it's just some nebulous it. Okay, so this is an infinitive with an impersonal. Okay, next. Paulisper, we're gonna take from here. And
We just do like that whole chunk.
yeah, we'll take that.
Wait, what? Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I bracketed it off. Okay, Caitlin,
Oh, it's my turn.
yes.
For a short time. Wait, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
Father was being quiet, but at last he says, "All right, it is allowed for you and Sextus to dine here."
Exactly. Okay, so
Wait, can
just,
you repeat that? Sorry.
yeah. So for a short time, father was being quiet, but finally he said, all right, it is allowed for you and Sextus to dine here. Okay, good. All right, next chunk, we're gonna have to come back to Ruth since she is in the washroom. Post Canaan, Tiff, can we go from there to Kubitum Ire?
Wait, oh, just that chunk?
This chunk right here.
Okay, thank you, sorry. Now let me see. I have no idea. After dinner, it is necessary for you to immediately go to the bedroom. I think I got one more wrong.
Okay, so you're mostly there, Some of this is idiomatic, like meaning you translated a little, it's like an idiom, like kubitum ire.
Yeah,
Kubitum ire means just to go to bed. It's like a weird,
I didn't know that, okay.
yeah, but so technically, yes, it does mean to go to the bedroom, but like as a unit, it's understood that it means to go to bed.
Oh, I wrote it as to go to your bedroom too.
Oh, wait,
Okay.
I wrote this to go to bed.
That's like just
Oh,
to go to your room.
Yeah, but it means to go to bed, like, so
Yeah.
you'll see it like that.
I was kind of confused about that, but.
That's okay, right, so, but he's saying like, yeah, okay, you guys can eat with me, but like,
Go
as
to
soon as you're
bed.
done, you're gonna go to bed.
Be good children.
Right.
And go to bed at 10 p.m.
Right, which is a good thing that, you know, Cornelius sees being a good father, I suppose. Okay, we didn't address Tommen though, however, yes, good. Okay, what is the use of this infinitive here?
Which one?
Sorry, I'm blind.
Kubitum ire.
Is it just a complementary infinitive?
No?
Oh.
Isn't that the S one?
Wait, let me check my notes.
Oh!
No,
It is necessary to do something. That's an impersonal. Yeah, so this is an infinitive with an impersonal.
wait, why is it an impersonal?
Because it is necessary
Oh.
is present there. It is necessary is here. And that's what's requiring the use of the infinitive.
Oh, wait, I wrote it down. Okay, I see.
Okay, good. Next, from here. To here. That's our next chunk. From Miserunt all the way down to Missisti. Lisa.
The boys laugh because they're happy. We're happy, father, says Marcus, because you didn't immediately send us in the room.
Good. Okay. Tense question. Errant. What tense is that?
It's present, right? No, it's past.
No, it's not present.
Is
It's
it
perfect. It's perfect. Is it perfect?
Wait, hold on.
Wait,
Go
no.
back to the translation.
Say that again?
Oh, we can't do translation.
Wait, is it imperfect? No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it's imperfect.
Oh wait, it's irregular, right? It was like the chart. It's like
Yeah, because remember, in the present, you've got not Sue.
That's Sue.
Sum est, sumus estis sunt. Okay, in the imperfect, you've got eram, eras, erat, eramus, erates, erant. Okay, and there it is right here, erant. Okay.
How do you do this? They laugh because they are happy, ing.
Well, so riserunt is actually perfect. So they laughed because they were happy. They laughed because they were happy.
Okay.
You could be more particular. You could say they laughed because they were being happy. Right, but think about the tense, right? They laughed. One and done. Because they were happy. The laughing happened because they were happy. So the happiness is more of a continuous action, which is why they're using the imperfect here. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Right, so like the happiness stretches further than the single instance of the laughing.
Wait, so you're still in like the happiness spectrum, but you're like done with the laughing?
Yep. Yeah, and that's why they use tense like that. Similarly to the doom clauses, right? Do you remember that? We talked about it last week, I think. Like even though it's imperfect, you translate it
As,
like in a different way.
oh, I remember that.
Right, and that's because think about what's happening, like the action and the time spectrum, and like how things are going. Right, so if you use the perfect, it's usually just one instance within an overarching continuous action verb. Yeah,
Can I go to the bathroom?
I hope so.
May I?
You may.
Thank you.
Sorry, I promised myself I wouldn't be that teacher, but here I am.
Wait, sorry, did you see my message on the board?
I did. Okay, so the boys laughed because they were happy. We are happy, said Marcus, because you did not immediately send us into the bedroom. Okay. Next chunk. Voluimus tu spectare soiam. Mm-hmm. It's kind of weird. There really should have just been a comma here. It shouldn't be another sentence.
Okay. We wanted to stay here and to look
Mm-hmm.
look at the other travelers.
Yeah, good. Good. Okay, we wanted to stay here and to look at the other travelers. Okay.
Wait, do you have to put like the in front of other travelers? Because I didn't. I put, but we wanted to stay here and look at other travelers.
You could say that. Yeah, you don't need the. I just put it in there because, yeah, I don't know. Because I can. Okay. Next. Tum Cornelius, we're going to take that chunk up to parare. David, we're going to come back to you.
My transition's all over the place.
Do I need to separate the Barnhouse girls? It seems like that's a common thread in most of my classes. The Barnhouse girls like to talk in my class. And while that's fine when I'm on duty on Tuesday nights, it is not fine when I am on duty right now. Spilling the tea in my class is not acceptable. Are you paying attention? Your hesitance means no. Stop whispering. Go ahead, David.
So Cornelius ordered the innkeeper to prepare food.
Yep, exactly. Nice.
tum again? Then?
Then,
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Tum is then, dum is while.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, you said then, I
I
think.
didn't.
You didn't say then?
No.
Oh, shoot, I thought you did. I just like, maybe I was like hearing it.
Yeah, I was kind of confused about the tum part. So.
Okay, yeah, tum just means then. It's an adverb.
Wait, Jim is that?
Tum is then.
There's an adverb?
Then.
There's an adverb?
I'm pretty sure. Let me
I'll
double check.
search it up.
Then.
Yeah, tum is, at least in Latin, tum is an adverb.
Oh, okay.
Because if you think about it, it's kind of like a time word. It's not a conjunction because
Oh,
conjunctions
yeah,
connect. So
yeah, yeah.
tum, like you would say, it happened then, right? It's modifying. It's telling you more about when it happened. It's like a time marker. So therefore, it is an adverb.
It happened then is modifying happened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly.
Oh, wait, that makes sense now.
Right?
Oh,
See, honestly, parts of speech, they'll save your butt any
I
day.
never understood like the parts of speech. Like I understood most of it, but I never understood like some like the weirder adverbs.
I mean, there are some adverbs in Latin that don't act like English adverbs, but those are just the ones you kind of have to memorize
Then
anyway.
over here is the then modifying the prepared
Mhm.
or ordered.
Ordered.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so then is modifying ordered and parare is functioning off of use it. What kind of infinitive is parare? J.E., what infinitive is parare? What kind? Good. What's the word that requires the use of the complementary infinitive? Ordered. Yep. Okay, good. Brevi tempore tu portavit. Evan, back to you.
In due time, Saret brought food to them while the boys devoured it.
Whoa, you are going way further. Okay, so that was just one logical chunk. Yes. So in a short time, the servant carried food to them. Okay.
Is there only one
Mm-hmm.
servant?
One servant. Yeah, and you can double check that, right? Servus is singular, but so is the verb, right? E isti it. That's third person singular.
Wait, can I?
Okay, next from dum to quidam, Jason.
While the boys were for, probably certain soldiers entered.
Certain soldier or certain soldiers? Soldier, good. Okay, so while the boys while the boys devoured the food, suddenly a certain soldier entered.
Why did it say a certain soldier? That's so weird.
So that you know that it's not, what they call that is an indefinite, which is different from a definite. So, quidam is an indefinite pronoun, I think. It acts like an adjective. It's different than saying that soldier, right? Because that's definitive, that's definite. You know exactly who I'm talking about. But when I say a certain soldier, like we really don't, it's kind of just indicating that we don't really know like who he is yet. He's not really defined in terms of characteristics just yet.
Is it the same as a soldier?
I mean, in Latin, no. Because if you wanted to just say a soldier, you would get rid of quidam and you would just say miles. But Latin, like they specifically want you to know that it's like they have a word specifically for it. So that tells me that because there's a word, like there's no word for an, or the in Latin, but there is a word for a certain.
Oh, okay.
So like they're making sure that you know.
Got it.
Yeah, good question. Yes.
Wait, so subito is suddenly, right?
Yes.
So it'd be suddenly or such a soldier entered?
Yep. Suddenly a certain soldier entered. Good. Okay. Now also think about the time spectrum, right? What tense is devorant?
That's kind of.
Oh wait, hold on.
It's no. It's not, right?
No, oh, wait, it
I'm
makes more
pretty
sense,
sure.
so since they're eating,
Oh,
it's imperfect.
You would think so. It really should be. It really should be imperfect. It's actually present, which is kind of weird. I guess they do that sometimes just to bring you back into the action. Yeah, there's a lot of switching. If it were imperfect, it would be de war abant. And if it were perfect, it would be de war whoops. De war oh my gosh. I can't say this word. Devorawerunt. There we go. Devorawerunt. Yeah, that was really hard.
I spelled hello wrong in the next sentence, like in the next chunk.
Okay, so, but just to think about it, right? Devorant is present, but in Trawit, what tense is that? It's got a V tense marker. That's one of V sucks. So,
Past.
what kind of past?
Perfect.
The perfect tense, right? So, while the boys are continuously eating, a guy walks in, right? So, in that time spectrum of continuous action, something solitary happened and finished. Okay, you guys starting to get like the relationship between tense and all that fun stuff? Sort of. Like it takes a little while to kind of settle in. So if you don't get it right away, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Everyone at a different pace. Okay. Next, Cornelium attente spectavit. What is Cornelius? He watched Cornelius attentively.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but he's a soldier, right?
I said closely.
Closely is fine too.
I
Yep.
spelled hello wrong.
So here's what's going on. The soldier enters. Well, it can't be because it's Cornelium. So he has to be the direct object.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
In that case, will we put he in brackets?
No, because technically the subject is included in the verb. Yeah, good question. So no brackets. All right, so the soldier walks in, he's looking at Cornelius attentively, and he says, Salve, we're optime. What does he say?
Hello, sir.
What kind of sir?
Good sir.
Yes, what hello, good sir, or the best sir, I guess. Did they gloss that?
No, they don't say sir.
Oh, they say, that's so weird. Why would you say
Sir.
Because I feel like sir is
already like elevated,
already higher.
as opposed to like, hey, you.
Hey, dude.
Hey, dude.
Or just hello.
Okay, so we'll take we're optime as sir, but just so you know, that is what that means. It's like the best man. So I guess the sir is the best man. I don't know. I didn't make up the class system. Don't look at me.
Right, so I remember I was reading this thing about like using proper language, and like it just kind of reminds me of like the idiom we did earlier, like we are optimate. So it was something like it was something like saying the wrong words, like ignoring like connotations of it. So it was kind of like we sprayed the ants in their hiding places, and you should have put we sprayed the ants in their private places, and I just thought that was funny.
What did you
That was really confusing, but
I
like
have no idea what you
it was just saying that when you write, you should like make sure you know all like the connotations of the words.
Okay, I
Like
see.
they're like
Right, because words have denotation, which is like the legitimate dictionary form, but in language, words have a feeling about them. Right, so for example, the word fama in Latin, it looks like the word for fame, and it means fame, but the vibe it has is negative. It's not a good thing, right? But you would think, oh yeah, fame, it's great. Fame, glory, it's all great. Not this word. It's got a negative connotation.
Is there a positive
Yeah.
thing?
That's a good question.
Distinguished.
Distinguished, yes. You would probably use an adjective instead. You would say candida, right? Which is where we get the word candidate. The word candidus aum, that's an adjective, and it means like bright, white, shining, or distinguished.
you are shining.
Well, that's where the word comes from. If you were running for office, you would wear a pure white toga, the toga pura.
Didn't that get dirty?
well, here's the thing. So yes, the Romans were stinking dirty, and also like wool does not, unless you like bleach it, it doesn't really get that white color, that like bright white color. So what they do, and they didn't have bleach, obviously. So what they do is they would go into town with their toga and they would chalk it. They'd use chalk because calcium deposits are there, and that would turn it white. And that's how they showed, like, and then they would walk around town like that. So that's how they showed that they were running for office, because they were wearing the white distinguished toga. And that's where you get that word.
I read the president switch on history in this game, and I won, and now president switch on.
Okay.
Very random.
All right. So anyway, hello, sir. Sorry. What did he say? Salvete pueri.
Hello, boys.
Mm-hmm. And then he asked them a question. Why what? Yeah, why did you come to, or why have you come into this inn?
Wait,
Yes,
Ross translates as, wait, what does Ross translate as?
y'all.
No. So wait, so it would be why, wait,
It's you or y'all, but it's plural.
oh,
So it was,
so it would be like why y'all, wait, what?
ego me e mihi, sorry, tu itibitete, wos westri wobis, wos wobis.
Oh,
So that's you, plural. It can either be nominative or accusative, though.
oh,
Okay, same thing with nos. Nos, nostri nobis, nos nobis.
okay.
Okay, that's the weird song that the guy sings and does the dance.
It was like, there's a really deep part in the middle of the song where the, like.
Oh, yeah, I think we should watch it again.
I think I should post it on the portal.
Yeah, I'll watch it on my free time.
It's more fun when we watch it together.
That's fair. All right, let's just get through the rest of this. So he asks, like, why did y'all come to the inn? Why did you not what?
Why did you not?
Yeah, why did you not go to the house of a friend? None, surely tu es senator Romanus? Yeah, surely you're a Roman senator. What kind of answer does that anticipate, by the way?
Yes.
Good.
I am a Roman. Cementer.
Okay, and Cornelius responded. He says, Senator Romanus sum.
I am a Roman.
I am a Roman senator. And what does he say? Nos, as the subject. Good. Nos intravimus in hac calponam. Why? Quod raida. Yes, good. Because our carriage is stuck motionless in a ditch. Yeah, this is just like an epic of boring
Can we
proportions.
say like immove, never mind, actually.
Immovable?
Yeah, immovable.
I get our carriage is stuck, comma, immovable, comma, in the ditch. You could say that.
Okay.
Yeah, but motionless is just more, I guess,
Smooth.
fluid in English. Yeah. Okay, so no lebamos manere in agris nocte. What do we not want to do?
We do not want to spend the night in the fields.
Good, we don't want to remain at night in the fields, but good, we've never before spent the night in the inn. Certe in agris. To spend the night is periculosum.
Dangerous.
Good. What kind of infinitive is this one? It's a specific type.
Wait, which one?
Pernoctare.
Spend the night.
What? It's the one with the.
How is it being used here? It's the weird one. It's not an impersonal.
Wait, is it the S that's a subject? Wait, really? Whoa. At this
Wait, what?
Okay, remember, the infinitive, like to spend the night, remember we have to make it neuter, even though verbs don't have gender. Do you remember? I think it was like the fourth use of the infinitive. Where's our notes? Ah, that's super big. Yeah, accusative and infinitive with verb. Oh no, sorry, the third one. Infinitive as a subject of est. Right, the infinitive is used as a verbal noun and it's neuter in gender, right? And the example is actually given to you here, right? So to spend the night is dangerous. So typically you would, if I were to say, the puella est irata, the girl is angry, right? That puella is my subject, right? But here, we're linking up with est, pernoctare and periculosum. So they're subjects of est. Does that make sense? That's how this infinitive is functioning? Okay. I'm just going to read the rest of the translation out to you so we can have this done. All right. If you have a question, mark it down. Okay. Then the soldier said, "It is also often dangerous to spend the night in an inn." Cornelius asked, "Why do you say this to us? Is this innkeeper a wicked man? What have you heard about Apollodorus?" "I have heard nothing about Apollodorus, but it is always dangerous to spend the night in the inn. Have you heard that story about the innkeeper? That innkeeper killed a guest." So not Apollodorus, another innkeeper killed a guest. It's a story,
That makes sense.
right? And Cornelius says, "No, I haven't heard that story. Why don't you tell it to us while we are eating?"
Wait, so is it
Oh no,
an
I think we
innkeeper?
killed
An innkeeper.
That makes the quiz on, the question of the quiz
Make more sense, yeah. Okay, so he's like, "Oh, well, why would you guys stay here? You know, innkeeper, it's a dangerous place. Did you hear the story about the innkeeper that killed his guests?" And he's like, "No, I haven't heard. It's not Apollodorus, though."
Because the translation I got
got that wrong.
I heard like, what have you heard? Oh, have you heard about the story that was told about